Remember those 17 Republican senators who signed the letter against Trump? Well, revenge just arrived, and it was brutal. In the last few hours, Donald Trump launched the most aggressive counterattack in recent American political history against members of his own party. He didn't just call the 17 traitors. He released a public list with their names, their districts, and even the donation amounts each one received. And he announced primary candidates to take down every single one of them, all 17. Subscribe to the channel now and turn on notifications because what's coming in the next few weeks will redefine the Republican Party forever. Let's get right to it. Let me catch you up on what happened before this. A few days ago, Mitch McConnell led a historic revolt. He gathered 17 Republican senators, including Lindsey Graham and Marco Rubio, two of Trump's most loyal allies. They signed a joint letter saying they could no longer defend the president's actions. The letter specifically mentioned demands for expanded emergency powers, rhetoric about Greenland, and threats to campaign against senators in his own party. The message was clear. We respect the presidency, but we serve the Constitution first. Trump was furious. He called them all traitors on Truth Social. He threatened to campaign against them. He announced a rally in South Carolina, Lindsey Graham's state, as a show of force. But nobody expected revenge to come this fast and this well planned. Yesterday morning at 6:14 a.m., Trump posted on Truth Social what's being called the Revenge List, a 3-page PDF document attached to the post. The document's title, The 17 Who Betrayed America, and the content is devastating. For each senator, Trump included full name, state they represent, year of next election, total donations received from lobbyists, controversial votes from the last 2 years, and a personalized attack line. Let me give you real examples of what was written. Lindsey Graham, South Carolina, election 2026. Total received from defense lobbyists, $2.3 million. Trump's line, friend when he needs me, traitor when the media pressures him. Weak and pathetic. Marco Rubio, Florida, election 2028. Total received from big corporations, $4.1 million. Trump's line, I made him Secretary of State. He betrayed me at the first opportunity. I never forget. Mitt Romney, Utah, election 2024. Total received from Wall Street, $8.7 million. Trump's line, voted to convict me twice. Eternal loser. Utah deserves better. Susan Collins, Maine, election 2026. Total received from environmental groups, $1.9 million. Trump's line, always against me, always with the Democrats. Complete rhino. Lisa Murkowski, Alaska, election 2028. Total received from oil industry, $3.2 million. Trump's line, betrayed Alaska by voting against our energy interests, needs to be replaced. You see the strategy? Trump didn't just call them traitors. He gave ammunition. Donation numbers that can be used in campaign ads. Specific votes that can be twisted. Attack lines ready to be repeated at rallies. This isn't momentary anger. This is calculated political warfare. But the list was just the beginning. 2 hours after publication, Trump called a surprise press conference at Mar-a-Lago. He walked into the room with a printed copy of the list in his hand and spoke for 40 minutes straight. I'll give you the main points because this was a speech that's going into the history books. Trump started, "Good morning, everyone. Today I want to talk about betrayal, about what happens when people you trusted, people you elevated, people you defended, stab you in the back. The 17 senators who signed that pathetic letter don't understand one basic thing. I don't work for them. They work for the American people. And the American people elected me to do exactly what I'm doing." He continued, "Every one of these 17 will face a primary challenge. Every one. I personally will campaign against them. I'll go to their states, I'll talk to the voters, and I'll remind them every time these senators betrayed conservative values, every time they voted with Democrats, every time they took money from lobbies that hate America." And then came the part that shocked everyone. Trump announced he already had candidates lined up. He had a list prepared. For 14 of the 17 senators, he'd already identified and contacted conservative Republicans willing to challenge them in primaries. And he started announcing names live. South Carolina against Lindsey Graham, Nancy Mace, federal congresswoman, MAGA hardliner. Florida against Marco Rubio, Byron Donalds, federal congressman, totally loyal. Utah against Mitt Romney. Mike Lee already offered support to any candidate I choose. Maine against Susan Collins, Paul LePage, former governor, already confirmed interest. Alaska against Lisa Murkowski, Sarah Palin is considering. The room of journalists went silent because this isn't an empty threat. These are real names, politicians with electoral bases, some already elected, and all willing to align with Trump against current senators. The message is clear. If you betray me, I don't just badmouth you, I replace you. But Trump didn't stop. He announced the creation of a super PAC made specifically to defeat the 17. PAC name, America First Always. Stated goal, raise $100 million to fund primary campaigns against the traitor senators. And Trump said he'd personally donate $10 million from his own pocket to start. Within 6 hours of the announcement, the PAC had already raised $8.2 million in online donations. Small donations of $25 to $100 coming from individual supporters. The MAGA base responded immediately, and big donors also started calling. According to sources close to the campaign, at least 3 Republican billionaires already signaled interest in giving 7-figure amounts. One allegedly said, "McConnell and the others need to learn the party belongs to Trump now, not them." Now let's talk about the 17's reaction, because they didn't stay quiet, and their response shows this war is just beginning. Mitch McConnell was first to respond. He issued an official statement from the Senate Minority Leader's office. Threats and intimidation will not change our position. We serve the Constitution, not any individual. The letter we signed reflects our oath of office and our responsibility to the American people. We will continue defending the rule of law and the responsibilities of the United States Senate. But McConnell also did something more aggressive. He called an emergency meeting with the other 16, and according to leaks from that meeting, he proposed immediately activating Stage 2 of the plan they'd prepared. Remember I mentioned they had a 3-stage plan? Well, Stage 2 means the National Republican Senatorial Committee commits $50 million to defend current senators. They refuse all funding to Trump-aligned challengers, and they call big corporate donors to support the 17. Lindsey Graham gave an exclusive interview to Fox News that same night, and what he said was surprising. Graham said, "I've known Donald Trump since he was a New York businessman. I supported him in 2016. I defended him during the first impeachment. I defended him during the second impeachment. I golfed with him dozens of times, but there's a line I can't cross, and that line is the United States Constitution. When the president demands powers Congress can't give under law, my duty isn't to him, it's to the document I swore to defend. If that means he'll campaign against me in South Carolina, bring it on. I know how to campaign too. And South Carolina voters aren't fools. They understand the difference between loyalty and blind obedience." The Fox host asked, "Are you sorry you signed the letter?" Graham responded, "Not at all. And if I have to, I'll sign it again." Marco Rubio chose a different way to respond. He didn't give interviews, didn't issue statements, but he posted on Twitter a sequence of 6 tweets that quickly went viral. I'll summarize the main points. Tweet 1. I deeply respect President Trump and the policies we implemented together. Tweet 2. But my oath isn't to the president, it's to the Constitution. Tweet 3. When there's conflict between personal loyalty and duty to law, the Constitution always wins. Tweet 4. Senators aren't employees of the president. We are an independent and equal branch of government. Tweet 5. Defending that independence isn't betrayal. It's exactly what the founders wanted. Tweet 6. I'll continue serving the people of Florida honestly, regardless of political consequences. In less than 2 hours, the thread had 4 million views, and comments were divided, half praising the courage, half calling him a traitor and promising to vote him out. But the most surprising response came from Mitt Romney. Romney is the only one of the 17 who doesn't face re-election soon. He already announced he won't run in 2024, so he has nothing to lose, and he used that to his advantage. Romney published an article in the Washington Post titled, "Why I Stood Against the President of My Own Party." The article is long, but I'll give you the most important excerpts. Romney wrote, "For the 3rd time in my Senate career, I took a position I knew would be politically difficult. I voted to convict President Trump in both impeachment trials. And now I signed a letter opposing his latest power demands. Each time I knew I'd face consequences. Each time I received threats. Each time I lost supporters. But each time I slept well at night, because I did what my conscience, my faith, and my reading of the Constitution told me was right. He continued, President Trump has an extraordinary gift for politics. He connects with millions of Americans in ways traditional politicians can't. But that gift comes with dangers, because when a leader demands personal loyalty above principles of law, when he treats disagreement as betrayal, when he threatens to destroy careers of those who don't submit completely, we're no longer in a functioning democracy. We're walking toward dictatorship. And I, as a conservative who deeply believes in American institutions, cannot stay silent while this happens. Romney finished. To my 16 colleagues who signed the letter with me, thank you for your courage. To senators who agree with us but are afraid to speak, I understand fear, but history will judge our silence. And to President Trump, I'm not your enemy. I'm an American patriot doing my job. The article was shared over 500,000 times in the first 24 hours, and it reopened the debate about what it means to be conservative in the Trump era. Now, while the 17 defended themselves publicly, something else was happening behind the scenes. Something that could completely change the political calculations of this war. Because it's not just the 17 who are worried. There are at least 10 other Republican senators who agree with the letter but didn't sign it out of fear of revenge. And these 10 are now facing a brutal dilemma. If they stay silent, they'll be seen as cowards by the 17. But if they speak out in support, they become targets too. And according to leaked conversations, at least 3 of these 10 are thinking about taking the step. One allegedly said in a private call, if Trump's going to do this to Graham and Rubio, eventually he'll do it to me too. Maybe it's better to stand up now while I have company than face this alone later. Another allegedly said, the MAGA base is loud, but it's not the entire Republican base. There are millions of moderate Republicans and traditional conservatives who are tired of the chaos. If some of us stand up together, we can actually change the party's direction. And here's the math that makes Trump nervous. He needs the Senate. No matter how much he attacks publicly, he still needs approvals for nominees, budget approvals, support on laws. If the 17 become 20 or 25, he loses real control. Because 25 Republicans plus all 47 Democrats give 72 votes, enough to override presidential vetoes, enough to pass laws Trump doesn't want, enough to block nominations he wants to force through. This is the nuclear weapon McConnell has stored away, and Trump knows it. That's why the aggression, because if he doesn't intimidate the 17 now, others will join, and then power really changes hands. But there's another calculation happening at the same time on Trump's side too, because campaigning against 17 senators simultaneously is expensive, laborious, and risky, even with $100 million, even with the MAGA base mobilized. Winning these primaries isn't guaranteed. Electoral experts have already started doing the math. Of the 17 senators, how many can actually be defeated in primaries? The answer depends on several factors. First, when is their election? Of the 17, only 6 face election in 2026. The others are in 2028 or 2030, so Trump can't defeat everyone quickly. Second, how strong are they in their own states? Lindsey Graham won his last primary with 67% of the vote. He has a strong political machine in South Carolina. Taking him down isn't easy. Marco Rubio is extremely popular in Florida. He doesn't face election until 2028, so he has time to rebuild relationship with the base. Susan Collins in Maine is moderate in a moderate state. She survived before. Third, money. If big corporate donors side with current senators, money favors the 17. If the MAGA base donates heavily, it favors Trump. Fourth, and most important, what do voters actually want? And here, the answer is complicated. Because the Republican base isn't all the same. There are MAGA Republicans who follow Trump without question. There are traditional conservative Republicans who want right-wing policies but not the chaos. There are moderate Republicans who voted for Trump but are tired of the drama. And there are Republicans who just want to win elections. Each of these groups will react differently to this war. Initial polling shows division. A Morning Consult poll done yesterday asked Republican voters, do you support the 17 senators who signed the letter or President Trump in this dispute? 52% said Trump, 31% said the senators, 17% unsure. But when the question changed to do you prefer a senator who always agrees with the president or a senator who sometimes disagrees when necessary, 61% preferred an independent senator. This shows something crucial. Republican voters like Trump, but they also value senators who show independent judgment. So what comes next? Let me give you short, medium, and long-term analysis. Short term, next 2 weeks. Trump will hold the South Carolina rally he promised. The date is already set, and it will be a crucial test. If tens of thousands show up and scream against Lindsey Graham, that shows strength. If the crowd is smaller or divided, it shows weakness. The 17 will increase public appearances in their own states, reinforcing the message of independence and law. And they'll try to tie Trump up in difficult Senate votes, forcing him to negotiate. Medium term, next 3 months. First, campaign fundraising will show real financial strength on both sides. If Trump's PAC keeps growing, he has ammunition. If it shrinks, he loses credibility. We'll see if more senators join the 17 or if some back down under pressure. And primary candidates start officially declaring, making Trump's threats concrete. Long term, until 2026. The real battle happens at the ballot box. Republican primaries in key states decide whether Trump has real power to take down current senators or if the 17 survive. And the result of these primaries determines the Republican Party's future for the next 10 years. But there's one factor nobody's talking about that could change everything: the 2026 general elections. Because even if Trump manages to defeat some of the 17 in primaries, the MAGA candidates who replace them might lose to Democrats in general elections. This already happened before. In 2022, several Trump-backed candidates won primaries but lost general elections because they were too extreme for moderate voters. If that happens in 2026, Republicans could lose the Senate completely. And then Trump becomes a president without a party, without Congress, without power to do anything on his agenda. That's the worst-case scenario moderate Republicans are warning about. But Trump doesn't seem worried. In his mind, loyalty is more important than victory. Better to have a smaller but totally loyal Senate than a larger Senate with traitors. Now let me tell you about a detail mainstream media is ignoring, but that's super important. International reaction to this internal war. Because US allies are watching this with fear. When American senators publicly say the president is asking for powers that go against law, when the president responds by threatening to destroy their careers, when the party in power enters open civil war, it sends a terrible signal to the world. European diplomats have already started showing concern in private conversations. One NATO country ambassador allegedly told people close to him, "How can we trust agreements with the United States when the government itself is tearing itself apart?" Another allegedly said, "Dictators like Putin and Xi Jinping are loving this. Every time American democracy looks broken, their model looks more stable." And that's exactly what they want. China and Russia, by the way, are already using this crisis in internal propaganda. Chinese state media published an article titled, "The End of American Democracy." The text says the democratic system is naturally unstable and that the Chinese one-party model is superior. Russian media was even more direct, with headlines like, "America collapses as Trump declares war on own party." This isn't just American domestic politics, it's influence being destroyed in real time. And countries that traditionally look to the United States as a democratic example are starting to question, if the world's greatest democracy can enter internal war, maybe democracy isn't as strong as we thought. That's the hidden cost of this war, not just division inside, but loss of American influence in the world. So let's summarize where we are. Trump launched the most organized and aggressive counterattack against the 17 senators. Public list with names, numbers, and personalized attacks. Announcement of primary candidates for 14 of them. Creation of Super PAC with $100 million goal. And promise to personally campaign against each one. The 17 responded with public defenses, talking about duty to law. McConnell activated Stage 2 of response plan. And at least 3 additional senators are thinking about joining the revolt. The war is now open, public, and total. There's no going back. The next few weeks will determine whether Trump consolidates absolute control of the Republican Party, or if the 17 manage to create an independent conservative movement within the GOP. And the result will define not just 2026 elections, but the nature of American politics for years to come. If this video helped you understand the complete turn in this war, leave the like. Subscribe to the channel because we'll keep following everything that happens in this story minute by minute. And tell me in the comments, do you think Trump will manage to defeat the 17 in primaries, or will the senators survive? Do you support the senators for defending the Constitution, or support Trump for demanding loyalty? I want to know your opinion because this is the debate dividing the Republican Party in half. See you in the next video, and remember, when a party goes to war with itself, everyone loses. But the Constitution, if we're lucky, survives.